The universe operates on principles we understand: physics, chemistry, the fundamental laws of cause and effect. Starfleet has charted thousands of star systems, encountered hundreds of species, and catalogued phenomena that would have seemed like magic to earlier generations. Warp fields, subspace harmonics, quantum fluctuations, all explainable, all predictable. But what happens when something defies every sensor, every theory, every rational explanation? What happens when the impossible walks onto your ship and asks for help? The USS Enterprise-D was conducting a routine survey of the Klingon sector when Lieutenant Commander Data's console erupted with alerts. Captain Jean-Luc Picard looked up from his ready room, PADE, already moving toward the bridge before the comm system activated. "Captain, to the bridge." Worf's voice carried an edge of something Picard rarely heard from his security chief: uncertainty. Picard emerged onto the bridge to find his senior staff gathered around Data's operations console, faces illuminated by cascading readouts that made no sense. A subspace tear, 15,000 kilometers off the port bow, was hemorrhaging energy in patterns that violated known physics. "Report," Picard commanded, settling into his command chair. "Captain, sensors are detecting a spatial rupture consistent with artificial wormhole formation," Data began, his golden eyes scanning the information faster than any human could process. "However, the energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It appears to be gamma radiation at concentrations that should not exist outside a stellar core." Gamma radiation? Dr. Beverly Crusher had arrived from sickbay, medical tricorder already in hand. "That's impossible. The radiation levels Data's describing would sterilize everything within a light year. And yet, Doctor, the phenomenon persists." Data's fingers flew across his console. "The rupture is collapsing. I am detecting." He paused. An occurrence so rare that every head on the bridge turned toward him. "Captain, I am detecting a humanoid life sign emerging from the spatial tier." "On screen," Picard ordered. The view screen shifted, magnifying the roiling green energy of the collapsing wormhole. And there, tumbling through the void of space, was a man. No environmental suit, no spacecraft, just a human figure in tattered clothing, unconscious, and exposed to hard vacuum. "Beam him directly to sickbay." Crusher was already moving toward the turbolift. "Medical emergency. Transporter room." Lock on to Picard began, but Chief O'Brien's voice interrupted from engineering. "Captain, I'm having trouble getting a clean lock. His molecular structure keeps shifting. It's like trying to beam up two different people occupying the same space." "Compensate," Picard ordered. "We're losing him." "Working on it." "I've got him." Energizing. The bridge crew watched as the figure on the view screen dissolved in the familiar shimmer of the transporter beam. Behind them, the spatial rupture collapsed with a flash of green energy, and the Klingon sector returned to its unremarkable silence. Picard was already in the turbolift with Counselor Deanna Troi before the doors closed. "Sickbay." "Captain," Troi said quietly as they descended. "I sensed something from that man before he was beamed aboard. Pain. Incredible. Overwhelming pain. And something else." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Rage. Not directed at anything specific, just an ocean of anger so deep I could barely touch the surface before I had to pull back." When they arrived at sickbay, Dr. Crusher was already running every scan available. The man lay on the bio bed, still unconscious, his clothing indeed tattered but his body showing no signs of vacuum exposure. No frostbite, no cellular damage, no decompression trauma. "This is extraordinary," Crusher murmured, studying her medical tricorder. "He should be dead. Humans can't survive vacuum exposure for more than 90 seconds. And sensors indicate he was out there for at least 3 minutes. But his vitals are, well, they're not just stable, they're perfect. Heartbeat, brain activity, cellular function, textbook human physiology." "Doctor." Data had followed them to sickbay, his own tricorder active. "I am detecting the same anomaly," Chief O'Brien reported. "This individual possesses 2 distinct DNA signatures occupying the same cellular structure. It is as though 2 completely different beings exist simultaneously within one body." "That's biologically impossible," Crusher said. But her scans were confirming Data's findings. The man's eyes opened brown, intelligent, filled with confusion and fear. He tried to sit up, saw the unfamiliar faces and equipment surrounding him, and his heart rate spiked immediately. "Easy," Picard said, his voice calm and authoritative. "I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation starship Enterprise. You're safe. You were found in space, and we brought you aboard. Can you tell us your name?" The man's breathing was rapid, his eyes darting between them. When he spoke, his voice was rough, strained. "Banner. Dr. Bruce Banner." He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers as though verifying they were his own. Where am I? What year is it? You're aboard the USS Enterprise. Picard repeated. The date is stardate 47,457.1, which corresponds to Earth year 2370. Dr. Banner, how did you come to be in space without protection? Banner's face went pale. 2,370? That's impossible. I was in my lab, the gamma pulse chamber was overloading, and there was this green light, and he stopped, his hands beginning to tremble. You need to let me go. Right now. It's not safe. Dr. Banner. You're in no condition to. Crusher began. But Banner swung his legs off the biobed. His agitation mounting. You don't understand, Banner said, his voice rising. I can't stay here. When I get stressed, when my heart rate increases, something happens, something bad. Something bad. Troy stepped forward, her empathic abilities focused entirely on Banner. Doctor, I can sense your fear, but we only want to help you. Whatever you're afraid of, we can. You can't help me. Banner shouted. And every monitor in sickbay began to alarm simultaneously. Data's tricorder emitted a shrill warning tone. Captain. His cellular structure is destabilizing. Gamma radiation levels are spiking exponentially. I recommend immediate. Banner's skin was changing, shifting from pale human flesh to something else entirely. Green. His muscles were expanding, his bone structure reconfiguring with sounds that should have meant agony but only seemed to fuel the transformation. His eyes, moments ago brown and human, now blazed with emerald fury. Everyone out. Crusher ordered. But it was too late. The creature that had been Bruce Banner stood 8 feet tall. Muscles like industrial cables beneath green skin. And when it roared, the sound shattered 3 medical displays and sent everyone staggering backward. The Hulk had arrived in the Star Trek universe. And the Enterprise was utterly unprepared. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Trek universe, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. Live long and prosper. Sickbay's emergency containment protocols activated automatically, titanium reinforced bulkheads slamming down across every entrance. Standard procedure for biohazard scenarios, but nothing about this was standard. The Hulk turned, his massive frame dwarfing everyone in the room, and fixed his gaze on the nearest barrier. Computer, activate emergency force field, maximum strength. Picard commanded, positioning himself between the creature and his medical staff. A shimmering blue barrier materialized between them and the Hulk. The creature's head tilted, studying the energy field with something that might have been curiosity. Then he drew back one massive fist and punched it. The force field held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing in a shower of sparks. Backup generators throughout the medical bay overloaded, plunging half the room into emergency lighting. Impossible, Data stated. His tricorder still recording every detail. That force field was rated to withstand a direct phaser blast. The kinetic energy required to breach it should have. The Hulk roared again, and Data's analysis ceased. The creature wasn't charging at them, wasn't attacking, he was confused, frightened in a way that made his massive body tense with barely controlled power. His eyes still intelligent despite their rage-filled gleam moved from person to person. Seeking threats. Seeking understanding. No one move, Picard said quietly. Counselor, can you sense anything from him? Troy's face was pale but focused. Captain, he's terrified. Underneath all that rage, there's a human consciousness screaming for control. It's Dr. Banner. But also, something else. 2 minds, 1 body. Fighting for dominance. She took a careful step forward. He doesn't want to hurt us. His emotional state suggests otherwise. Worf's voice came through the comm system. He'd made it outside the containment zone before the bulkhead sealed. Captain, security teams are standing by with phaser rifles. Say the word. The Hulk's head snapped toward the comm panel at the sound of Worf's voice, and his posture shifted immediately, shoulders back, hands curling into fists the size of chairs. Whatever lingering confusion had been in his expression vanished, replaced by a primal readiness for combat. Belay that order, Picard said firmly. All security teams maintain position but do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. Captain Worf began. That's an order, Lieutenant. The Hulk's breathing was heavy, each exhalation like wind through a cavern. He looked at the sealed bulkheads, then at the ceiling, calculating. Dr. Crusher slowly reached for her medical tricorder, but the slight movement caught the Hulk's attention. He moved with impossible speed for something so massive, crossing the distance between them in a single bound. Picard found himself staring up at 8 feet of emerald muscle, the creature's hot breath washing over him. This close, he could see the intelligence in those eyes, the war being fought behind them. This wasn't just a beast. This was a person, trapped and desperate. Dr. Banner, Picard said. His voice steady despite every instinct screaming at him to run. I know you're in there. We're not your enemies. We're trying to help. The Hulk's massive hand reached out, and for a moment Picard thought his gambit had failed. But the creature simply tapped gently, almost delicately, the comm badge on Picard's uniform. The Hulk's eyes narrowed, studying the small device with fascination that seemed almost childlike. Shiny, the Hulk rumbled. His voice like grinding stone. The single word carried more intelligence than the creature's appearance suggested. Data's tricorder beeped insistently. Captain, fascinating. The creature's vocal patterns indicate significant cognitive function. His brain activity is not that of a mindless beast, but rather a simplified consciousness operating on basic emotional responses and survival instincts. Banner. The Hulk said suddenly, his free hand pressing against his own massive chest. Banner weak. Hulk strong. The creature's expression twisted into something that might have been pain or frustration. Hulk. Protect Banner. Troy moved closer, her empathic abilities fully engaged despite the risk. You protect Dr. Banner? Is that why you exist? To keep him safe? The Hulk nodded. A surprisingly human gesture from such an inhuman form. Hulk, keep Banner safe. Always safe. His eyes swept the sickbay again, landing on the sophisticated medical equipment, the uniformed personnel, the strange technology that surrounded him. Where is Hulk? Not Banner's world. Smells wrong. Sounds wrong. You're aboard a starship, Picard explained carefully, as though reasoning with an extremely dangerous child. A vessel that travels between worlds. Dr. Banner arrived through some kind of spatial anomaly. We don't fully understand how yet. But we're trying to help him help you return home. The Hulk processed this, and for several seconds the only sound was the hum of emergency power systems struggling to reboot. Then his expression darkened, lips pulling back to reveal teeth that could bite through hull plating. Hulk, not stupid. You put Hulk in cage. Hulk, smash cages. Always smash cages. We don't want to cage you, Picard said. Though he knew security protocols would demand exactly that. But we need to understand what happened to Dr. Banner. And to do that, we need his help. Can you let Banner come back? Banner scared. Hulk, not scared. Hulk, stay. Dr. Crusher stepped forward slowly, her medical training overriding her survival instincts. The transformation takes energy, she said, her eyes on her tricorder readings. His gamma radiation levels are beginning to stabilize. Heart rate is decreasing fractionally. If we can keep him calm. The ship suddenly shuddered, red alert klaxons blaring throughout every deck. The Hulk tensed immediately, his muscles coiling like compressed springs. Worf's voice came through the comm, sharp with urgency. Captain. Sensors are detecting 3 Romulan warbirds decloaking off our position. They're hailing us, demanding we surrender the gamma-enhanced subject immediately. Picard felt ice form in his stomach. How could the Romulans possibly know? They'd found Banner less than 20 minutes ago. Unless. The spatial rupture. Data's voice confirmed his suspicion. Captain. The gamma radiation signature would have been detectable across several light years. If Romulan scout ships were monitoring this sector. Another shudder, more violent this time. The Hulk roared. Not in rage but in response to what he perceived as an attack on his territory. His fist came down on a medical console, reducing it to sparking debris. Hulk smash. Wait! Picard shouted. But the creature had already turned toward the reinforced bulkhead. The Hulk charged, and the Enterprise's hull plating designed to withstand micrometeorite impacts and energy weapons crumpled like aluminum foil. He tore through the bulkhead in 3 seconds. Disappearing into the corridor beyond with a roar that echoed through every deck. Picard tapped his comm badge. Bridge, track that creature. All hands, this is the captain. We have a Code 14 scenario, uncontained potentially hostile entity loose on the ship. All personnel are to avoid confrontation. I repeat, avoid confrontation. Security teams shadow but do not engage. Captain, Worf's voice was strained, the Romulans are firing warning shots. They're demanding we lower shields and prepare for boarding. Absolutely not. Maintain shields. Evasive pattern Delta 4. Picard looked at his senior staff. All of them still processing what they'd just witnessed. A man who turned into an unstoppable creature. Romulans who wanted him. And somewhere in his ship's corridors. A being of unimaginable strength who protected Dr. Banner by becoming something Banner himself feared. The Enterprise shuddered again. This time from a sustained disruptor barrage. Captain, Data said. His tricorder still recording. I have calculated the Hulk's current trajectory. Based on his demonstrated problem-solving abilities and emotional responses, He is heading toward the source of the explosions. He perceives the Romulan attack as a threat. Picard closed his eyes briefly. He's going to engineering. Affirmative. He will reach the warp core in approximately 4 minutes. Then so will we. Counselor, Doctor. You're with me. Data. You have the bridge. Work with Commander LaForge to determine if there's any way to safely calm or contain our guest. And for God's sake, find out how the Romulans knew about him. As they ran toward the turbolift, Picard couldn't shake the feeling that they just opened Pandora's box. The Federation had protocols for first contact. For hostile species. Even for omnipotent beings like Q. But nothing in Starfleet's regulations prepared them for this. Engineering was in controlled chaos when Picard arrived. Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge stood at the Master Systems display, his visor processing a dozen different status reports while his hands flew across the controls. The warp core pulsed with its familiar blue-white glow. The dilithium chamber's resonance filling the vast space with a sound like distant thunder. Geordi, status, Picard called over the alert klaxons. Not good, Captain. Those Romulan disruptors are targeting our shield generators specifically. They're trying to weaken our defenses without crippling us. They want aboard. Not destroy. LaForge looked up from his console. But that's not our biggest problem right now. The entire engineering deck trembled, and it wasn't from weapons fire. The sound of rending metal echoed through the Jefferies tubes above them, something massive moving through spaces never designed for anything larger than a human. A ventilation grate exploded outward 30 meters above the warp core, and the Hulk dropped through, landing in a 3-point crouch that cracked the deck plating beneath him. Engineering staff scattered. Several security officers who'd been shadowing the creature raised their phaser rifles, but Picard's raised hand stopped them from firing. The Hulk rose to his full height. His emerald skin reflecting the azure glow of the warp core. His head turned, massive neck muscles bunching as he surveyed the cavernous space. Pretty light, the Hulk said, his gravelly voice carrying unexpected wonder. He moved toward the warp core, each footstep leaving impressions in the deck. Loud light. Strong light. Light. Captain. He's headed straight for the antimatter containment field. LaForge warned. His voice tight. If he breaches that, we'll all have more to worry about than Romulan warbirds. Picard finished. He stepped forward, placing himself between the Hulk and the warp core. Stop. Please. That light, that's what makes the ship fly between stars. If you damage it, thousands of people will die. The Hulk paused, his head tilting with that same curious expression from sick bay. People here? In belly of sky ship? Yes. Families. Children. All living in this vessel as we explore the galaxy. Little people. Soft people. The Hulk's massive hands flexed, as though testing the concept. Hulk not hurt little people. His expression darkened, rage flickering behind his eyes. Others hurt little people. Sky fire from outside. Hulk feel it shake floor. Those are enemies attacking us. Picard confirmed. But we can defend ourselves. We don't need. The ship lurched violently, throwing several engineering crew to the deck. Sparks erupted from a plasma relay, and warning klaxons intensified. Worf's voice cut through the chaos over the comm system. Captain, shields at 47%. The Romulans are increasing firepower. They're no longer firing warning shots. They want us disabled now. The Hulk's eyes blazed brighter, his muscles swelling as anger surged through him. His voice dropped to a thunderous growl. Hulk smashed Skyfire. Before anyone could react, the Hulk leaped upward with enough force to buckle the deck plating where he'd stood. He caught the catwalk 50 meters above, the metal shrieking as it bent under his weight, then launched himself toward the outer hull. He's heading for the hull breach he created earlier. Data's voice came through Picard's comm badge. Captain. He appears to be attempting to exit the ship. In the middle of a space battle? Crusher's face was horrified. He'll be exposed to vacuum again, and this time we're in the middle of a combat zone. Romulan disruptors will tear him apart. I don't think he cares, Doctor. Troy said quietly, her empathic senses tracking the Hulk's emotional state even at this distance. All he knows is that his territory, because that's what the Enterprise has become to him, is under attack. And the only way he knows how to respond to a threat is with overwhelming force. Picard tapped his comm badge. Bridge. The Hulk is attempting to exit the ship. Track his position and then, Captain. Worf's voice held a note of shock Picard had rarely heard from his security chief. He's on the hull. Sensors confirm a humanoid figure on the outer hull. Deck 12. Section 4. He just tore through the hull plating with his bare hands. On LaForge's engineering display, exterior camera feeds showed the impossible. The Hulk stood on the Enterprise's saucer section, exposed to hard vacuum. his green skin somehow unaffected by the absolute zero temperature and lack of atmosphere. Romulan disruptor fire lanced through space around him, precise targeting shots meant to force the Enterprise to surrender. The Hulk caught one of the energy beams in his hands. "That's impossible," LaForge breathed, his visor processing data that couldn't possibly be real. Disruptor bolts are coherent energy packets traveling at significant fractions of light speed. You can't just catch them. But the Hulk had. The Emerald Giant held the crackling green energy between his palms like a child examining a firefly, then threw it back toward the nearest Romulan warbird with enough force that the recycled disruptor bolt struck the warbird's shields and sent the vessel tumbling out of formation. Picard watched the display, torn between scientific fascination and tactical horror. "Worf, are the Romulans seeing this?" "Affirmative, Captain. Their weapons fire has ceased. I'm detecting increased comm traffic between their vessels. They seem to be recalibrating their approach." The Hulk crouched on the hull, his massive form silhouetted against the stars, and waited. When no more attacks came immediately, he turned and punched the hull plating, tearing a new opening and disappearing back into the ship. "He's returning to engineering," data reported. Estimated arrival time, 37 seconds. Picard looked at his senior staff. All of them still processing what they'd witnessed. A being who could survive in vacuum, catch directed energy weapons, and physically intimidate Romulan warbirds simply by existing. Every tactical computer in Starfleet would classify such a creature as a strategic asset, or a strategic threat. The Hulk dropped through the same ventilation shaft he'd used before, landing with enough force to crack the deck plating further. But his posture had changed, less aggressive, more satisfied. He looked at Picard with something that might have been approval. Skyfire stopped. "Hulk win. Yes, you won," Picard agreed carefully. "The enemy ships retreated. For now. Good." The Hulk sat down heavily, his mass causing the entire engineering deck to groan in protest. His breathing was slowing, the emerald glow of his skin beginning to dim fractionally. "Hulk, protect little people. Hulk, protect Skyship." Troy stepped forward, her voice gentle but probing. "You protected us. But where's Banner? Can we talk to him?" The Hulk's expression clouded, confusion and frustration warring across his massive features. "Banner sleeping. Banner always tired after Hulk save him." His voice dropped to something almost resembling sadness. "Banner not like Hulk. Think Hulk monster. Dr. Banner is afraid of you," Picard said, beginning to understand the tragedy underlying this creature's existence. "Because when you emerge, he loses control. Hulk not monster." The roar shook engineering, but it carried pain rather than rage. "Hulk protect. Hulk keep Banner safe from bad men. From Skyfire. From everything." He pressed one massive fist against his chest. Why Banner not understand? Hulk is friend. Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered again, but this wasn't from weapons fire. Data's voice carried urgency through the comm system. "Captain, sensors are detecting a quantum singularity forming directly ahead. A Romulan warbird is decloaking from within the anomaly. It's a D-Deridex-class vessel. And they're hailing us." "Put them through," Picard ordered. The view screen in engineering flickered to life, showing the angular features of a Romulan commander. But her expression wasn't the typical arrogant superiority Picard expected from Tal Shiar operatives. Instead, she looked genuinely disturbed. "Captain Picard, I am Commander Sela of the Romulan Imperial Fleet. What we just witnessed on your hull defies every principle of biology and physics. That creature survived vacuum, manipulated directed energy, and displayed strength that shouldn't exist in any natural being." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "The Romulan Star Empire has a simple offer: surrender the Gamma-enhanced subject to us, and we'll ensure he never threatens Federation space again. Refuse, and we'll be forced to destroy your ship to prevent such a weapon from falling into Starfleet's hands." The Hulk stood, his earlier satisfaction vanishing. "Hulk not weapon. Hulk not going with Sharp-ear people." "Sharp-ear people?" LaForge muttered. "Did he just silence that creature?" Sela snapped. "Captain, you have 10 minutes to comply. After that, I'll have 3 additional warbirds joining our position, and we will take the subject by force whether your ship survives the process or not." The screen went dark. Picard looked at the Hulk, who stood like a living monument to power, confusion, and barely contained rage. Around them, the Enterprise's crew waited for orders that might determine whether they'd go to war over a being they'd known for less than an hour. And somewhere inside that massive green form, Dr. Bruce Banner was trapped, unable to help, unable to explain, unable to prevent the catastrophe his presence was creating. The observation lounge adjacent to engineering had become an impromptu war room. Picard stood at the head of the conference table. His senior staff assembled in controlled urgency. Through the viewport, the stars hung still and beautiful, deceptively peaceful given the Romulan warbirds holding position just outside weapons range. And in the corner of the room, taking up far more space than the furniture had been designed for, sat the Hulk. Captain's log. Supplemental. Picard began, his voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. We have 9 minutes to decide the fate of Dr. Bruce Banner or the creature he becomes. The Romulans have made their intentions clear. Starfleet Command is 3 hours away at maximum warp, too far to provide guidance or support. The decision falls to me. Worf stood at tactical parade rest, his Klingon heritage bristling at the diplomatic tightrope they walked. Captain, we cannot surrender this individual to the Romulans. Their interest in weaponizing his abilities is obvious. It would violate every principle of Federation sovereignty and individual rights. Agreed, Picard said. But we must also consider what happens if we refuse. 3 additional warbirds would give the Romulans overwhelming tactical superiority. We'd be forced to either fight a battle we cannot win, or flee and potentially lead them deeper into Federation space. There is a third option, Data offered, his golden eyes fixed on the Hulk with undisguised fascination. We could negotiate for asylum. Under Federation law, Dr. Banner would be entitled to request protection as a refugee from unknown circumstances. The Romulans would have no legal authority to demand his extradition. The Tal Shiar doesn't concern itself with legal authority, Troy said quietly. Commander Sayla isn't here on official business, she's here for an opportunity. A being of the Hulk's capabilities represents a strategic asset worth risking an interstellar incident. La Forge leaned forward, his visor tracking the energy readings that still emanated from the Hulk-like radiation from a star. Captain, I've been analyzing the sensor data from his little spacewalk. The gamma radiation he emits isn't constant, it spikes in direct correlation with his emotional state. When he's calm, it drops to barely detectable levels. When he's angry, he gestured to a display showing a graph that spiked off the chart. Let's just say I'm surprised the warp core didn't go critical from the interference. Which raises an interesting question. Crusher interjected, her medical tricorder still active despite being across the table from her subject. Dr. Banner told us that his transformation is triggered by stress. But what triggers the transformation back? Every scan I've taken suggests that the Hulk is, biologically speaking, stable. He's not going to revert to Banner's form without some external stimulus. All eyes turned to the Hulk, who had been surprisingly patient during the discussion. He sat with his massive arms crossed, watching them with an intelligence that was easy to underestimate beneath his brutish exterior. Banner come back when Hulk feels safe, the creature rumbled. When no more danger, when no more people try to cage Hulk or stick Hulk with needles or blast Hulk with. He paused, searching for words. The light guns. Phasers. He pronounced the word carefully, as though he'd heard it from Banner's memories and was testing it out. You have access to Dr. Banner's knowledge? Data asked, his scientific curiosity overriding tactical concerns. The Hulk's brow furrowed in concentration. Hulk. Remember Banner things. Words. Machines. Smart people talk. His frustration was evident. But Hulk not understand all. Banner brain too complicated. Hurt Hulk's head. Fascinating, Data continued. This suggests a shared consciousness rather than complete separation. Dr. Banner likely retains awareness during your manifestation, even if he cannot exert control. Banner screaming inside. The Hulk confirmed, his voice dropping. Always screaming. Stop breaking things. Stop scaring people. Change back. Please change back. The creature's massive shoulders slumped. Hulk tried to change back. Hulk tried to sleep, to let Banner have body again. But Hulk smelled danger. Smell sharpier people wanting to hurt Banner. So Hulk stay. Troy rose from her chair slowly, approaching the Hulk with the careful deliberation of someone navigating a minefield. You're protecting him. But Dr. Banner doesn't see it as protection, he sees it as losing control. And that terrifies him, doesn't it? Which creates more stress, which keeps you manifested. Stupid Banner. The Hulk said. But his tone carried something like affection. Always worried about control. But control not keep you safe. Strength keep you safe. Hulk's strength. Picard watched the exchange. Pieces of a psychological puzzle clicking into place. A paradox. Dr. Banner's fear of the Hulk perpetuates the very condition he fears. And now we've added external threats to an already volatile situation. He checked the chronometer. 7 minutes until Commander Sela's deadline. Captain. Worf's tactical display lit up with new contacts. 4 Klingon birds of prey are entering sensor range. Approaching at high warp. They're hailing us. The Klingons? La Forge's surprise was evident. What are they doing in Federation space? Picard felt the situation spiraling beyond his control. On screen, the view screen shifted to show a Klingon commander whose scarred face and graying hair spoke of decades of combat. Captain Picard, I am Commander Kurn of the House of Mog. We intercepted Romulan communications regarding a warrior of unprecedented strength aboard your vessel. The Empire demands that this warrior be given the opportunity to prove himself in honorable combat. We claim the right of challenge. The Hulk perked up immediately. Challenge? Like fight? Do not respond to that, Picard ordered sharply. But the damage was done. The Hulk was already standing. His earlier frustration transforming into something more dangerous anticipation. Kurn's laugh boomed through the speakers. The warrior accepts. Excellent. We shall beam aboard and... Absolutely not, Picard cut him off. Commander Kurn. This individual is under Federation protection. Neither the Romulan Star Empire nor the Klingon Empire has any authority to make demands regarding his status. Protection? Kurn's expression darkened. The Romulan P-Talk wished to cage a warrior. You Starfleet officers wish to study him like some laboratory specimen. Only the Klingons offer him what every true warrior desires: the chance to test his strength against worthy opponents, to earn glory through combat. His eyes found the Hulk on the view screen. What say you, warrior? Will you rot on this Federation pleasure craft? Or will you stand with the Empire and face challenges worthy of your power? The Hulk's eyes blazed with interest, and Picard saw decades of carefully maintained Federation-Klingon relations teetering on the edge of chaos. Before he could formulate a response, Data's console erupted with alerts. Captain, I am detecting a massive subspace distortion forming between our position and the Romulan vessels. The quantum signature is consistent with... The space between ships tore open, and reality bent. From the distortion stepped a figure that could not exist in normal space-time. He wore the uniform of a Starfleet captain. But his presence radiated power that made even the Hulk pause. Q had arrived. Oh, how delightful. Q's voice carried across all channels simultaneously. Federation, Romulan, and Klingon. He materialized on the Enterprise bridge, then in engineering, then in the observation lounge, his omnipotent nature allowing him to exist in multiple places at once. Picard, you magnificent fool. You've stumbled onto something truly special this time. He gestured toward the Hulk with theatrical flair. A being whose power increases with emotion rather than decreasing. How wonderfully primitive. How delightfully chaotic. Q, this is not the time for your games, Picard said through gritted teeth. Games? My dear Captain, this is far more serious than a game. Q approached the Hulk, circling him like an art critic examining a sculpture. This creature represents a fundamental challenge to the Federation's precious philosophy. You believe in reason, in logic, in the supremacy of the rational mind. But here stands proof that sometimes, raw emotion and unbridled strength are exactly what's needed. He looked directly at Picard. The question is, can you admit that? Or will you try to contain, study, and ultimately neutralize what you don't understand? The Hulk growled. His instincts recognizing something dangerous in Q despite not understanding what he was. Sparkle man smell wrong. Not real. Not solid. And, Q's eyebrows rose. Oh, it speaks. And it has better perception than most mortals. Yes, clever green giant. I'm not real in the sense you understand reality. I'm something much better. He snapped his fingers. And suddenly the observation lounge expanded into an infinite cosmic arena. The Enterprise crew, the Hulk, and representations of the Romulan and Klingon commanders all stood in a space beyond space. Let's make this interesting, Q announced. I'm going to give all of you exactly what you want. Commander Sella, you want the Hulk as a weapon, you'll get to try to capture him. Commander Kurn, you want to test your warriors against his strength, you'll get your glorious battle. And Captain Picard, you want to prove that reason can triumph over chaos, you'll get the chance to argue your case. He gestured grandly. But here's the twist. The Hulk gets to choose. After experiencing each approach, Romulan manipulation, Klingon honor combat, and Federation diplomacy, he'll decide which philosophy resonates with his nature. Should be fascinating to see which culture can successfully recruit a being of pure rage. Q, you cannot. Picard began. But the omnipotent being simply smiled. I just did. Consider it a test, Jean-Luc. A test of everything your precious Federation claims to stand for. Q's smile widened, and the best part? The Hulk is the judge. Not you, not me, him. Let's see if a creature born from gamma radiation and human fear can teach the galaxy's greatest civilizations something about themselves. The cosmic arena solidified. And from 3 different directions, Romulan soldiers, Klingon warriors, and Starfleet officers appeared, each group armed, each group ready to claim the prize. And in the center, the Hulk stood alone, his eyes blazing as he realized he'd become the galaxy's most wanted individual. The cosmic arena Q had created defied conventional physics. 3 distinct zones radiated from the central platform where the Hulk stood, each representing a different faction's domain. To the north, Romulan territory manifested as shadowed corridors and monitoring stations, sterile and calculating. To the east, Klingon space blazed with training grounds and combat arenas, all sharp edges and honor-bound tradition. To the west, Federation space glowed with the clean lines of a starship's conference room. Diplomatic and ordered. The rules are simple, Q announced, his voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. Each faction gets 1 hour to convince our green friend to join their cause. You may use whatever methods suit your philosophy, technology, combat, rhetoric, but you cannot leave your designated zones unless invited. The Hulk may travel freely between all 3. He appeared next to the creature, barely reaching his shoulder. And just to keep things sporting, I've restored our contestants to their baseline capabilities. No calling for reinforcements. No orbital strikes. No cheating. He smiled at Picard. Well, no more than usual for Romulans. Commander Sela materialized in the Romulan zone, flanked by Tal Shiar operatives and scientific personnel. Her expression showed calculated interest rather than fear. We begin, then. Commander Kern appeared in the Klingon zone with a dozen of his finest warriors, all armed with batleths and wearing expressions of eager anticipation. Finally, a test worthy of song, Picard found himself in the Federation zone with his senior staff. Their weapons and equipment functioning but clearly limited to Q's arbitrary constraints. He immediately began formulating an approach, but Troy placed a hand on his arm. Captain, look at him. The Hulk stood in the center of Q's arena, slowly rotating to examine each zone. His massive head tilted as he processed the cosmic entity's challenge. When he spoke, his voice carried across the impossible space with perfect clarity. You. He pointed at Q. 1 Hulk to pick masters. Like Banner's world. Always someone wanting to own Hulk. Use Hulk. Control Hulk. His eyes narrowed. Hulk choose nobody. Hulk not toy for Sparkleman's game. Q's delighted laughter rang out. Oh, this is even better than I hoped. The brute has principles. But here's the thing, my emerald philosopher, whether you choose or not, the choice will be made for you. These 3 factions won't simply let you wander the galaxy freely. They'll hunt you, cage you, or befriend you. Might as well see which option you hate least. He vanished with a snap of his fingers, leaving only his voice behind. The clock starts now. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then Commander Sela stepped forward to the edge of her zone, her posture deliberately non-threatening. Dr. Banner. She called out, using his human name rather than referring to the Hulk directly. I know you can hear me. I've studied your psychological profile from the scattered data our long-range sensors captured during your arrival. You're a scientist, a man of intellect who was transformed by an accident beyond your control. Her voice carried sympathy that seemed almost genuine. The Romulan Star Empire understands what it means to be misunderstood by those who fear what they cannot comprehend. The Hulk turned toward her but didn't approach. Banner hear you. Banner not trust you. Wise, Sela acknowledged. Trust must be earned. But consider this. The Federation will study you, dissect every aspect of your condition, and ultimately try to find a way to separate you from Dr. Banner permanently. They see you as a problem to be solved. She gestured to the sophisticated equipment behind her. We see you as an opportunity not to be weaponized, but to be understood. Our scientists have made breakthroughs in genetic manipulation and consciousness transference that surpass anything Starfleet possesses. We could help Banner and the Hulk coexist peacefully, perhaps even let you choose when to transform rather than being slaves to stress and rage. In the Federation zone, Picard watched the exchange with growing concern. She's offering him exactly what Banner would want: control. It's a lie, Worf growled. The Romulans would never simply help him. They'd exploit his biology for military advantage. Would we? Data asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. If the Hulk had arrived on a Federation research station rather than the Enterprise, would our response have been fundamentally different? Would we not have attempted to study his condition? To find a cure for what we perceive as an affliction? The uncomfortable silence that followed was interrupted by Commander Kern's booming voice from the Klingon zone. Enough of the Romulans' honeyed words. Kern strode to the edge of his territory. His batleth held high. Warrior. You possess strength that legends are built upon. The ability to face any enemy and emerge victorious through sheer power and will. The Klingon Empire recognizes this for what it is: not a curse, but a gift. He slammed his fist against his chest. Join us. And you'll never be seen as a monster again. You'll be celebrated as the warrior you truly are. Fight beside us, test yourself against worthy opponents, and earn honor that will be sung about for generations. The Hulk's posture shifted, interest clear in his body language. You? Not afraid of Hulk? Afraid? Kern laughed, the sound rich with genuine mirth. We are Klingons. We do not fear strength, we respect it. You survived the vacuum of space and caught enemy fire with your bare hands. Any warrior who witnessed that display would consider it a privilege to stand beside you in combat. He gestured to his warriors, all of whom struck their weapons against their armor in a rhythmic salute. This is how Klingons honor true warriors. Not with laboratories and containment fields, but with loyalty and the promise of glorious battle. The Hulk took a step toward the Klingon zone, drawn by something primal in their offer. But he stopped at the boundary, his green brow furrowed in thought. Klingons want Hulk to fight. Always fight. But what if Hulk tired of fighting? What if Banner want to do science things? Smart things? Kern's expression flickered with confusion. Then dismissal. Why would a warrior waste time with such pursuits when battle calls? The Empire has scientists for that, lesser beings who support warriors in their true purpose. Banner not lesser. The Hulk rumbled, his voice dropping dangerously. Banner made Hulk. Banner kept Hulk alive when bad men tried to destroy both. Banner important. Picard saw his opening. Then perhaps you should hear what we have to offer. The Hulk turned toward the Federation zone, and Picard stepped forward to meet him at the boundary. Behind him, his crew remained still, presenting a united but non-aggressive front. Dr. Banner, we won't pretend to fully understand what you're experiencing. Picard began, his diplomatic training guiding every word. The transformation you undergo defies our scientific knowledge. But that doesn't make you a threat to be eliminated or a weapon to be wielded. Under Federation law, you are a sentient being with rights: the right to self-determination, the right to asylum, the right to live without fear of exploitation. Pretty words, the Hulk said, but he moved closer. Banner know pretty words from before. Scientists on Banner's world used pretty words too. Then tried to cut Hulk open to see how Hulk work. I won't lie to you. Picard continued. Dr. Crusher would very much like to understand your physiology. Data would love to study the mechanics of your transformation. But we wouldn't proceed without your consent, both yours and Dr. Banner's. Because unlike the others, he gestured toward the Romulan and Klingon zones, we don't see you as a single entity to be claimed. We see two individuals sharing one existence, and both deserve agency in determining their future. Counselor Troy stepped forward, her empathic abilities focused entirely on the Hulk. I can feel Dr. Banner inside you right now. He's listening, he's terrified and exhausted, but he's also hopeful. Because for the first time since arriving in this universe, someone has acknowledged that he still exists. The Hulk's massive hand rose to his chest, pressing against the place where Banner's consciousness resided. Banner awake. Banner always awake when Hulk out. Banner see everything Hulk do. Feel everything Hulk feel. His voice cracked slightly. Banner hate it. Hate being passenger in own body. But Hulk not know how to let go without danger eating Banner alive. Dr. Crusher moved forward carefully, her medical tricorder lowered in a gesture of non-threat. What if we could help you find a balance? Not eliminating one of you for the other, but finding a way for both to have control when appropriate. Dr. Banner's intellect combined with your protective instincts that could be something extraordinary rather than tragic. You offer fairy tale, the Hulk said. But his tone suggested he wanted to believe it. Romulan offer control through machines. Klingon offer glory through battle. But Federation offer what? Hope? RF. Yes, Picard said simply. Hope that beings as different as humans and Vulcans, as Andorians and Tellarites, can find ways to coexist not by dominating each other but by respecting each other's strengths. You and Dr. Banner are no different than our Federation itself, distinct parts forming a complex whole. Commander Seela's voice cut through the moment. How touching. But Captain, you're offering him a philosophical ideal while we offer practical solutions. The Federation's track record with beings of extraordinary power is hardly reassuring. How many times have you attempted to contain or neutralize Q? How did you respond to the first Borg drone you encountered? With understanding or with fear? Here, Kern added his own objection. And what happens when enemies threaten Federation space? Will you ask the Hulk nicely to defend your ships? Or will you do what you've always done, negotiate, stall, and ultimately sacrifice honor for diplomatic solutions? He pointed his bat left toward the Hulk. A warrior needs a warrior's culture. Anything less is an insult to his nature. The Hulk stood at the intersection of all three zones, literally at a crossroads. His eyes moved between Romulan technology, Klingon warriors, and Federation diplomats. Each offered something: control, glory, hope, but each also demanded something in return. Hulk need to think, he said finally. All of you want something from Hulk. Nobody asked what Hulk want. Q's voice drifted through the arena, amused and delighted. Then by all means, tell us. What does the Hulk want? The creature's expression shifted through several emotions: rage, confusion, sadness, before settling on something unexpected. Loneliness. Hulk want Banner to stop screaming. Hulk want people to stop running when Hulk appear. Hulk want. He paused, searching for words to express something profound. Hulk want home, place where Hulk and Banner both belong. In that moment, Picard understood. This wasn't about choosing between factions or philosophies. This was about being two beings who'd been torn from their reality and thrust into a universe that saw them as either opportunity or threat, but never as simply people who wanted peace. And somewhere in Romulan space, sensors were detecting 3 additional warbirds breaking formation to join Commander Sila's forces. Q's game had rules, but the real galaxy outside this cosmic arena did not. The hour was ticking down. And when it ended, the choice might not matter, because all 3 factions would try to take what they wanted regardless of the Hulk's decision. The Hulk's admission hung in the cosmic arena like a verdict waiting to be passed. For several heartbeats, none of the 3 factions responded. Then Commander Sela smiled, not her calculated diplomatic mask, but something more genuine and far more dangerous. A home, she said softly. That's all any of us truly want, isn't it? The Romulan people understand exile better than most. We left Vulcan millennia ago, rejected their cold logic, and forged our own path among the stars. She stepped closer to the boundary of her zone. Dr. Banner, the Hulk, you don't have to choose between your 2 selves. You don't have to be weaponized or glorified or studied. You simply need a place where both of you are accepted for what you are. Behind her, Tal Shiar operatives activated holographic displays showing verdant planets, peaceful colonies, and advanced research facilities. The Empire has worlds where you could live undisturbed, where Dr. Banner could pursue scientific research with resources that dwarf anything the Federation offers. Where the Hulk could exist without fear of containment or exploitation. Her voice dropped to something almost intimate. We Romulans value privacy, Dr. Banner. We would never force you to be something you're not, we'd simply give you the freedom to be both. Picard felt the ground shifting beneath him metaphorically. Sela was offering exactly what any reasonable person would want: sanctuary without strings. The fact that it was almost certainly a lie made it no less appealing to someone desperate for peace. Captain, Data said quietly. His positronic brain processing tactical data even in this cosmic arena. Commander Sila's neuro-linguistic patterns suggest she is being partially truthful. The Romulan Empire does have remote research colonies where individuals of scientific importance are granted significant autonomy under constant surveillance, of course, but with genuine resources and freedom within defined parameters. A gilded cage. Worf muttered. Perhaps. Data agreed. But to someone who has lived in fear of persecution, a gilded cage may seem preferable to constant pursuit. The Hulk listened to Sila's pitch. His massive head cocked in consideration. But before he could respond, Commander Kern's harsh laughter shattered the moment. Freedom through isolation. Kern spat the words like a curse. The Romulan offers you what she offers everyone: safety purchased with dignity. You'll have your comfortable laboratory, your peaceful existence. And slowly, day by day, you'll realize you're living in a prison of comfort. He struck his bat-leth against the ground, the metallic ring echoing. That is not freedom. That is surrender. Kern's warriors stepped forward as one. And the Klingon commander's voice rose with passionate intensity. You speak of wanting a home, warrior. But home is not a place, it is purpose. It is knowing that when you wake each day, your strength matters, that you have brothers who will stand beside you, who will celebrate your victories and mourn your defeats. He gestured broadly. The Federation will study you, the Romulans will hide you, but the Klingons will honor you, every single day of your existence. One of Kern's warriors, a scarred veteran with gray in his hair, stepped forward. I am Kamepek, and I have fought for 40 years. I have seen warriors who could shatter starship hulls with disruptor cannons. I have watched champions duel until neither could stand, but never have I witnessed what you did on that Federation vessel's hull. He bowed his head in genuine respect. You caught weapons fire with your bare hands. You made Romulan commanders retreat through presence alone. These are deeds that will be sung of for centuries if you have a culture that values such things. The Hulk's posture straightened, responding to the recognition in ways that reason couldn't touch. Hulk. Honored? More than honored, Kern confirmed. You would be legend. And legends in the Klingon Empire want for nothing, not purpose, not companionship, not glory. Your Banner self could pursue whatever scientific interests he desired, supported by imperial resources. But when enemies threaten, when the call to battle sounds, the Hulk would stand alongside the greatest warriors in known space, and be expected to fight in every conflict the Empire deems necessary. Picard interjected, unable to remain silent. Commander Kurn, you offer glory and honor, but at what cost? The Hulk would become what every faction seeks to make him a weapon. Just one that's better compensated and more celebrated. Kurn's eyes narrowed. You dare insult. I dare speak truth. Picard cut him off. The Hulk asked for a home. You're offering him an endless battlefield with cultural validation. That's not sanctuary, that's conscription with better marketing. The Hulk looked between them, confusion and frustration building on his features. His skin took on a deeper green shade, the gamma radiation signature intensifying as his emotional state fluctuated. Troy sensed the shift immediately. Captain, his stress levels are rising. If this continues, we'll see what rage truly looks like. Q's voice interrupted, manifesting beside the Hulk with theatrical flair. Tell me, my green friend, are you enjoying this? 3 civilizations fighting over you like children over a new toy? Each claiming they want what's best for you while obviously wanting what's best for themselves? Hulk not toy. The roar shook the cosmic arena, causing visible ripples in the fabric of space Q had constructed. Hulk not weapon, Hulk not legend. Hulk just want Banner to stop hurting. He slammed both fists into the ground, cracking whatever impossible material Q had created. All you people same, use fancy words, make pretty promises, but all want same thing, control Hulk. Not all of us. Picard said firmly, stepping across the boundary into the neutral zone. It was a calculated risk, violating Q's arbitrary rules, but sometimes principles mattered more than regulations. I want you to have the freedom to choose, truly choose without coercion or manipulation. Commander Sella moved to her boundary. Captain, how noble. But you're still trying to influence his decision. Still trying to make him believe your philosophy is superior. Because it is, Picard shot back. The Federation isn't perfect. We've made mistakes, sometimes catastrophic ones. But we're built on the principle that every sentient being has the right to determine their own fate. Not the fate we think is best for them, the fate they choose for themselves. Kurn laughed bitterly. And when their choice endangers your precious Federation, when their self-determination conflicts with your Prime Directive, you Starfleet officers talk endlessly about rights and freedoms. But you're the first to impose restrictions when someone's choices make you uncomfortable. The accusation stung because it carried truth. Data had been judged in a courtroom to determine if he was property or a person. Worf had been caught between Klingon honor and Starfleet duty countless times. Even Picard himself had been assimilated by the Borg and forced to watch helplessly as his body committed atrocities. How different was that from Banner's experience with the Hulk? Dr. Crusher stepped forward, her medical instincts overriding political caution. Dr. Banner, I know you're listening. I know you're trapped inside, watching all of this unfold. And I want you to know something: you're not the first person to feel like a passenger in your own existence. She looked at the Hulk's massive form with compassion rather than fear. I've treated patients with dissociative disorders, with parasitic infections that altered their behavior, with conditions that made them feel like strangers in their own bodies. The Federation has protocols for helping people like you, not fixing you, not eliminating the parts we don't understand, but helping you find balance. The Hulk's eyes softened fractionally. Banner here, Doctor. Banner wanna believe, Doctor. His voice dropped to something almost vulnerable. But Banner heard promises before. Always promises. Then always pain. I understand, Crusher said gently. Trust has to be earned, especially when it's been broken before. All I'm asking is that you give us the chance to earn it. Not through grand promises or cultural propaganda, but through actions. Let me try to help you, really help you, with no ulterior motives beyond easing your suffering. For a moment, it seemed like the Hulk might respond, might take that offered hand of genuine compassion, but then Q clapped his hands, and the cosmic arena shifted violently. Oh, this is delicious, Q announced. But I'm afraid we're out of time. The hour has passed, and now we get to see what happens when our green friend has to make his choice or have it made for him. The boundaries separating the 3 zones dissolved. And suddenly Romulan soldiers, Klingon warriors, and Starfleet officers were all in the same space, no longer separated by Q's arbitrary divisions. Commander Sela's hand moved to her disruptor. Commander Kurn's warriors raised their batleths. Worf positioned himself between Picard and the nearest threat. Wait! Picard commanded. But his voice was lost in the chaos. The Hulk stood in the center of converging factions, his eyes blazing with gamma-fueled fury. Hulk choose nobody. The roar was physical force, knocking everyone back several meters. The cosmic arena shattered like glass, and reality snapped back into normal space with disorienting violence. They were back aboard the Enterprise, but they weren't alone. Romulan boarding parties materialized throughout engineering, having beamed through shields that Q's game had temporarily disabled. Klingon warriors appeared on multiple decks, clearly having been given the same opportunity. And through it all, the Hulk stood in the center of engineering, surrounded by 3 different military forces, all of whom thought they could claim him by force. Red alert! Picard's voice cut through the confusion. All hands to battle stations. Intruders on multiple decks. But before the Enterprise crew could respond, the ship rocked from external weapons fire. On the view screen, more Romulan warbirds and Klingon vessels had appeared, Q's game having drawn them like carrion birds to a dying animal. And in the center of engineering, the Hulk's rage reached critical mass. His skin blazed with green energy, gamma radiation flooding through the Enterprise's systems like poison. His muscles swelled beyond even their previous size, his height increasing until his head nearly touched the ceiling. All of you want Hulk. His voice was thunder and earthquake combined. Then Hulk give you what you want. He moved with impossible speed, catching a Romulan soldier in one hand and a Klingon warrior in the other, slamming them together with enough force that their weapons shattered. But he didn't kill them, he hurled them toward their respective commanders with precision that spoke to Banner's influence, even in this rage-fueled state. Hulk not going with Romulans. Not going with Klingons. Not staying with Federation. Each declaration was punctuated by the Hulk demolishing whatever was nearest control consoles, structural supports, anything that represented the civilizations trying to claim him. Hulk going home, Hulk finding own way. Geordi La Forge's voice crackled over the comm, barely audible over alert klaxons. Captain, the warp core's containment field is destabilizing. Whatever gamma radiation he's putting out is interfering with the antimatter magnetic bottles. We've got maybe 5 minutes before. The ship shuddered again, this time from a Borg cube emerging from a transwarp conduit. Because of course the Borg would detect this chaos and see opportunity. Q appeared one last time, sitting casually on a piece of destroyed equipment. Well, Jean-Luc, you wanted to prove that reason could triumph over chaos. How's that working out for you? The Borg cube hung in space like a monument to inevitability, its perfect geometric form dwarfing even the assembled Romulan and Klingon vessels. Its arrival shifted the entire tactical situation from a multi-party skirmish into something far more existential. Borg cube is hailing. Data reported from the bridge, his voice carrying the slightest edge of what might have been concern in a being capable of such emotion. They are transmitting on all frequencies. The mechanical voice of the collective echoed through every speaker on the Enterprise and presumably across every vessel in the sector. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Biological and technological distinctiveness. Gamma-enhanced humanoid. This distinctiveness will be added to our own. Compliance is mandatory. In engineering, the Hulk stopped mid-destruction, his massive head turning toward the nearest speaker. The Romulan and Klingon forces momentarily forgot their objectives. Ancient survival instincts recognizing a threat that superseded all territorial disputes. Commander Sela's voice cut through the Enterprise's comm system. She'd apparently hacked their communications grid during the boarding action. Captain Picard, I propose a temporary alliance. The Borg represent a threat to all our interests. Agreed. Commander Kern added, his tactical pragmatism overriding Klingon pride. We can resume our dispute after the Borg are dealt with, assuming any of us survive. Picard didn't hesitate. All vessels, coordinate defensive pattern Beta 9. Target the cube shield generators and Hulk no Borg. The creature's roar interrupted all military planning. His eyes blazed with recognition, not his own memories, but Banner's knowledge bleeding through. Banner, remember, from ship's computers. Borg take people, make them machines. Take away choice, take away self. The Hulk's muscles tensed, gamma radiation spiking to levels that made engineering's sensors scream warnings. Borg worst of all, Borg make everyone slaves. He's not wrong, Troy observed quietly, her empathic senses detecting something unexpected in the Hulk's emotional state, not just rage, but righteous anger. Captain, he understands what the Borg represent on a fundamental level. They're everything he and Dr. Banner have been fighting against: forced loss of control, erasure of individual identity. The Borg cube launched its first assault, cutting beams that sliced through space with mechanical precision. The assembled fleet scattered. Romulan warbirds cloaking and re-engaging. Klingon birds of prey executing attack pattern Omega, and the Enterprise's shields flaring as they absorbed direct hits. And the Hulk leaped. He didn't ask permission, didn't coordinate with any tactical plan. He simply crouched, the deck plating buckling under the force of his stance, and launched himself through the hull breach he'd created earlier. Explosive decompression meant nothing to his gamma-enhanced physiology. He rocketed through space like a green missile aimed directly at the Borg cube. My God! Crusher breathed, watching the tactical display. He's going to. The Hulk impacted the Borg cube's hull with enough force to create a visible shockwave across its shields. The barrier held for approximately 3 seconds, then collapsed under the sustained kinetic assault as the Hulk hammered the same point repeatedly, each blow carrying more force than a photon torpedo. He tore through the hull plating, disappearing into the cube's interior. Sensors are tracking him, Data reported, fascination evident in his voice despite the crisis. He is moving through the cube at remarkable speed. Borg drones are attempting to assimilate him, but he paused. Captain. The Borg cannot achieve a clean transporter lock on his physiology. His cellular structure shifts too rapidly between his two states. They are attempting physical restraint instead. On the view screen, external cameras caught glimpses of the carnage inside the cube through the hull breach. Green energy flashed like lightning. Drones flew through the opening, their mechanical augmentations sparking and failing. The Hulk was fighting an army, and he was winning. This is unprecedented. Data continued. Borg adaptation protocols are failing to compensate for his continuously escalating strength. Each time they modify their approach, he becomes proportionally stronger in response to the increased threat. Commander Seela's voice carried grudging admiration. The creature is doing what entire fleets have failed to accomplish. He's destabilizing a Borg cube from within. But Picard watched the tactical display with growing dread. He can't destroy it alone. The cube has millions of drones. Eventually, they'll overwhelm him through sheer numbers, or they'll adapt their assimilation techniques. We need to support him. Agreed. Kern's voice was sharp with battle lust. All vessels, concentrate fire on that hull breach. Widen it. Give the warrior room to work. Widen. For perhaps the first time in recorded history, Federation, Romulan, and Klingon ships coordinated their fire patterns, hammering the same section of Borg cube where the Hulk had forced entry. Phaser arrays, disruptors, and photon torpedoes created a devastating crossfire that peeled back layers of Borg technology like an onion. Inside engineering, the boarding parties had ceased their attempts to capture territory or prisoners. Romulan soldiers and Klingon warriors stood side by side with Starfleet security, all recognizing that this battle superseded their individual agendas. Worf coordinated the defense, his tactical mind cutting through decades of Federation-Klingon tension. All boarding parties formed defensive perimeters around critical systems. When the Borg inevitably attempt to board us, we must be ready. A Romulan centurion, young, female, with cold tactical eyes nodded sharply. Agreed. The Tal Shiar trained me to fight Borg drones. I will not die to these abominations today. The ship rocked as the Borg cube fired on all vessels simultaneously, its massive power reserves allowing it to target multiple threats while still attempting to contain the Hulk internally. Shields across the fleet began failing, damage reports flooding in from every vessel. And then the Hulk emerged. He didn't exit through the breach he'd created. Instead, he punched through the cube's opposite side, carrying something, someone in his arms. At this distance, sensors could barely resolve the details. But Data's console provided clarification. Captain, the Hulk is carrying a Borg drone. Female, human origin, heavily augmented. He is protecting her? The creature landed on the Enterprise's hull with a thunderous impact that resonated through every deck. He moved to the nearest airlock, his free hand working the external controls with surprising delicacy for beings his size and current rage level. The airlock cycled, and moments later, alarms indicated an unauthorized entry into Deck 8. Security teams to Deck 8. Worf ordered. Then amended. Defensive posture only. Do not engage unless attacked. Picard was already moving. I'm going down there. Data. You have the bridge. Captain, I must protest. Worf began, but Picard was already in the turbolift. He found the Hulk in a cargo bay. The creature hunched over the Borg drone he'd carried from the cube. Up close, Picard could see that this wasn't a normal drone. Her augmentations were extensive, covering perhaps 80% of her body, but her face retained more human features than most assimilated individuals. She was unconscious, her Borg implants sparking and failing. The Hulk looked up at Picard's arrival, and his expression carried unexpected complexity. Anger, yes, but also something like desperation. Borg woman still person inside. The Hulk rumbled. Hulk feel it. Like Banner inside Hulk. Person trapped. Screaming. Wanting out. His massive hand gestured to her frantically. You fix. You help person inside machine. Dr. Crusher arrived seconds later, her medical team in tow. She took one look at the drone and her professional instincts overrode any hesitation. Get her to sickbay immediately. Full quarantine protocols. We can't risk her Borg systems linking to the ship's computers. Understood, Picard said, then looked at the Hulk. You saved her. Why? She's Borg. She tried to assimilate you. The Hulk's expression twisted with something that transcended rage or simple emotion. Hulk know what it's like. Being trapped. Being thing you not want to be. Nobody choosing to be monster. His eyes still blazing with gamma energy but carrying undeniable intelligence met Picard's. Borg worse than Romulan cages or Klingon glory. Borg take away all choice. Make people into things. Hulk not let that happen. Not to anyone. Before Picard could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Data's voice came through the comm with unusual urgency. Captain, the Borg cube has adapted its shields and weapons systems. It is targeting the Hulk specifically now. Multiple tractor beams attempting to lock onto his position. The Hulk's head snapped up, gamma radiation flaring. Borg want Hulk? Hulk give Borg what they deserve. Wait. Picard called, but the creature was already moving, tearing through the cargo bay bulkhead to create his own exit route back to the hull. In sickbay, Dr. Crusher worked frantically to stabilize the Borg drone. Her instruments revealing layers of mechanical horror intertwined with failing organic systems. But buried beneath the cybernetic nightmare, she detected something extraordinary. The woman's human neural patterns were still intact, still fighting against the collective's programming. She's been Borg for years, Crusher murmured, her tricorder displaying impossible data. But somehow, her consciousness never fully surrendered. She's been aware the entire time, experiencing every atrocity the collective forced her to commit. The doctor looked up at her staff. Understanding dawning. The Hulk recognized a kindred spirit, someone who knows what it's like to be conscious but not in control. On the bridge, Data tracked the Hulk's movements as he engaged the Borg cube for a second time. But this assault was different, more focused, more strategic. The creature was targeting specific systems, using Banner's knowledge of technology to identify critical nodes in the cube's structure. Fascinating, Data observed. He is displaying tactical intelligence far beyond his previous actions. Dr. Banner's consciousness is contributing to the Hulk's assault, creating a synthesis of rage and reason that the Borg cannot predict. The collective had never encountered anything like this, a being whose power increased with rage, whose dual consciousness made him impossible to analyze, whose physiology defied assimilation. Their adaptation protocols cycled uselessly, trying to categorize a threat that operated outside all known parameters. The Hulk tore through deck after deck, each blow precisely calculated to cause maximum systemic damage. He destroyed regeneration alcoves, shattered vinculum nodes, and ripped apart the cube's central plexus with methodical fury. And then he found it, the Borg Queen's chamber. She waited for him there. Beautiful and terrible. More individual than any drone but still part of the collective. Her voice carried across the cube's internal communications, gamma-enhanced humanoid. Your resistance is noted. But you cannot destroy us. We are infinite. We are inevitable. The Hulk's response was a roar that collapsed bulkheads. Hulk not care about infinite. Hulk only care about now. And now. Hulk smash Borg. He charged, and the Queen's personal guards, more advanced than standard drones, moved to intercept. But they were too slow, too predictable. The Hulk tore through them like tissue paper, closing the distance in seconds. The Queen's eyes widened fractionally, the first sign of something like fear from a being that claimed to experience only logic. You are chaos, she said, backing away. You are everything we seek to eliminate. Everything we must control. Hulk not controllable, the creature growled, his massive hands closing around her mechanical augmentations. Nobody control Hulk. Nobody control Banner. And nobody. He lifted her, his eyes blazing with righteous fury. Control people anymore. He threw the Borg Queen through the chamber wall, her body tumbling through deck after deck before being ejected into space through one of the many breaches his assault had created. And without the Queen's coordinating intelligence, the Borg cube began to fail. The Borg cube didn't explode dramatically, that would have been too merciful. Instead, it died by degrees, its systems cascading into failure as the Queen's absence severed the collective's neural link. Drones wandered aimlessly through corridors, their shared purpose dissolved into individual confusion. Automated systems locked into diagnostic loops, unable to receive coherent commands. The perfect machine became a perfect disaster. Picard watched from the Enterprise bridge as the cube began drifting, its propulsion systems offline, its weapons arrays powering down. Status of the Hulk? Winch Danis. He's still inside the cube, Data reported. his console tracking the gamma radiation signature that made the creature easier to locate than any comm badge. He appears to be moving through the drone population areas. I am detecting unusual activity. Define unusual, Mr. Data. He is liberating drones, Captain. Data's tone carried something that might have been admiration. He is physically destroying their connection to the collective's neural network, severing the vinculum links that bind them to the hive mind. It is crude but effective. Approximately 74% of the drones he has processed in this manner have begun exhibiting independent neural activity. Crusher's voice came through from sickbay. Captain, the drone the Hulk brought us, she's regaining consciousness. And she's aware, fully aware. Her Borg designation was 7 of 9. Tertiary adjunct of Unimatrix 01. But she's asking to be called Annika Hansen. That was her human name before assimilation. Can she speak with me? Stand by. A moment later, a woman's voice, strained but undeniably human, came through the comm. Captain Picard. I know who you are. The collective knows who you are. Locutus of Borg. The name carried weight. A reminder of Picard's own time as an unwilling part of the collective. But you broke free. You proved that assimilation isn't absolute. And now, something impossible has happened. The green creature, the one consumed by rage, he broke me free too. Picard closed his eyes briefly, old memories surfacing. His time as Locutus had been the darkest period of his life, and he'd spent years in therapy working through the trauma of having his identity stripped away and his body used to commit atrocities against his own people. Miss Hansen, you're safe now. Dr. Crusher will. I don't want safety, Annika interrupted, her voice strengthening. I want purpose. I was Borg for 18 years, Captain, 18 years of being aware but powerless. Do you know what that's like? Every act of assimilation, every destroyed civilization, every life I helped extinguish, I was conscious for all of it, screaming inside a prison of my own body. Her voice cracked. The creature understood, somehow, he knew. And he gave me what no one else could: freedom. Troy, standing beside Picard, spoke gently. Captain, she's experiencing severe psychological trauma. But her emotional state is remarkably stable given the circumstances. The Hulk's intervention provided her with agency in a way that slow, careful medical de-assimilation never could. She chose to leave the collective, or rather, the choice was made possible for her. On the view screen, the Hulk emerged from the cube, dragging several drones with him. He leaped through space, landing on the Enterprise's hull with his customary disregard for structural integrity, and made his way to the nearest airlock. Minutes later, he appeared on the bridge, which was far too small for his massive frame, with 3 partially liberated drones stumbling behind him. Their Borg implants sparked and failed, their eyes showing the confused awareness of individuals suddenly thrust back into consciousness after years of collective existence. More trapped people, the Hulk announced, his voice reverberating through the confined space. Hulk, bring them to Dr. Fix. Worf's hand moved instinctively to his phaser. But Picard raised a hand to stop him. Stand down. They're victims, not enemies. He looked at the Hulk, this creature who'd gone from perceived threat to unlikely hero in the span of hours. You went back for them. Cube full of trapped people. The Hulk said simply. Nobody should be trapped. Hulk know what trapped feels like. Banner trapped in Hulk. Hulk trapped in Banner. All these people. He gestured to the drones. Trapped in Borg. Hulk fix. You can't fix them all, Crusher's voice came from sickbay. Already preparing for the incoming patients. There are thousands of drones on that cube, and our medical facilities. Then get help, the Hulk interrupted. His gaze fixed on Picard with unexpected intensity. Federation big. Federation have lots of ships, lots of doctors. Federation always talking about helping people, about exploring and protecting and doing right thing. His massive hand gestured toward the drifting cube. Well, here are people who need help. Federation help them, or just more pretty words? The challenge hung in the air like a physical presence. Picard found himself facing a moral imperative delivered by the most unlikely of messengers, a creature born from rage, asking the Federation to live up to its own principles. Mr. Data, open a channel to Starfleet Command. Emergency Medical Priority Alpha. Aye, Captain. Commander Sela's voice cut through before the connection could be established. Her warbird had decloaked off the Enterprise's port bow. Captain Picard, an impressive display. The creature has neutralized a Borg cube, something the Romulan Star Empire would very much like to understand. I renew my offer. Surrender Dr. Banner to us, and we'll provide all necessary resources to help these liberated drones. You'll provide resources to study them, Picard corrected coldly. To dissect their cybernetic systems and determine how to replicate Borg technology for the Empire's benefit. The answer is still no. Kurn's face appeared on a split screen as his bird of prey maneuvered into flanking position. The Klingon Empire also offers assistance and a place of honor for the warrior who defeated the Borg. He has proven himself in the most glorious combat imaginable. Such a warrior deserves to choose his own destiny, not be held prisoner on a Federation vessel. The Hulk looked between the view screens, his expression darkening. Still fighting over Hulk. Borg gone. But sharp-ear people and fight people still want to own Hulk. No one wants to own you, Picard said firmly. But they do want to control what you represent, power that can stand against the galaxy's greatest threats. And yes, they'll use noble language and promise freedom, but ultimately, they'll try to turn you into what they need you to be. And Federation different? The Hulk's question carried genuine curiosity. Federation not want to use Hulk? Picard met those gamma-blazed eyes without flinching. I'd be lying if I said Starfleet wouldn't see strategic value in an alliance with you. But the difference is that we'd ask for your cooperation, not demand your servitude. We'd respect your choice to say no. And we'd work toward helping you and Dr. Banner find the balance you seek, not because it serves our interests, but because it's the right thing to do. Counselor Troy stepped forward, her empathic abilities focused entirely on the creature. Captain, I'm sensing something. Dr. Banner is closer to the surface now. The immediate threat is gone. And the Hulk's protective response is decreasing. If we can create an environment of genuine safety, the transformation might reverse. Banner want to come back? The Hulk confirmed, his voice softening fractionally. Banner tired. Want to talk to people without Hulk's words. He looked down at his massive hands. Hulk tired too. Tired of fighting, tired of being afraid. Tired of making Banner afraid. The admission was stunning in its vulnerability. This being of seemingly infinite rage and strength was exhausted by his own existence. Dr. Crusher's voice was gentle. Then let us help you both. Not as a Federation experiment, not as a strategic asset, as patients who deserve medical care and compassion. For several seconds, the Hulk remained still, internal conflict visible across his features. Banner's consciousness was clearly fighting for control, but the Hulk's protective instincts resisted surrendering in what might still be a hostile environment. Then Annika Hansen's voice came through the comm, addressing the Hulk directly. You saved me. You gave me back myself. Let them do the same for you. Let someone help for once, instead of fighting alone. The Hulk's shoulders slumped. Gamma radiation levels beginning to decrease. Hulk. Okay. Hulk try. But if Federation people try to hurt Banner, Hulk come back. Hulk always come back. Understood, Picard said. You have my word as captain, no one will harm either of you while you're under this ship's protection. The transformation was gradual, almost gentle. The Hulk's massive form began shrinking, muscles contracting, green skin fading back to human tones. It took nearly 3 minutes, far longer than the explosive change to Hulk form, but eventually, Dr. Bruce Banner stood on the bridge, naked and vulnerable, trembling from exhaustion. Worf immediately removed his uniform jacket and draped it over Banner's shoulders. The gesture was surprisingly compassionate from the normally stoic Klingon. Banner looked around at the assembled crew. His eyes filled with shame and fear and desperate hope. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The destruction. The fighting. You saved us, Picard interrupted gently. You defeated a Borg cube, liberated dozens of drones, and demonstrated more courage than most people show in a lifetime. You have nothing to apologize for. I'm a monster. Banner whispered. No. Annika Hansen's voice came through the comm. Firm and certain. You're someone who carries a monster's strength but chooses to use it to protect people. There's a difference. I should know. I carried the Collective's will for 18 years. You carry the Hulk's rage. But neither of us are defined by what we carry. We're defined by what we choose. Banner's legs gave out. And Data caught him with mechanical precision, carefully lowering him to the deck. Dr. Banner. Your vital signs indicate extreme exhaustion and gamma radiation depletion. You require immediate medical attention. I'll take him to sickbay, Crusher said, already on her way to the bridge. But Captain, we need to address the immediate political situation. We have Romulan and Klingon vessels still in formation. And they're not going to simply let Banner go without. The ship rocked violently, red alert klaxons screaming to life. Data's console erupted with warnings. Captain. Multiple vessels emerging from warp. I am detecting. He paused, his positronic brain processing impossible data. I am detecting 17 Starfleet vessels, including 3 Galaxy-class starships and Admiral Nechaev's flagship. They are moving to intercept the Romulan and Klingon forces. Commander Sela's face reappeared on the view screen, her expression cold with fury. You called for reinforcements. How? Predictable. I called for medical ships, Picard corrected. But it appears Starfleet Command decided this situation required a more comprehensive response. Admiral Nechayev's stern face replaced Sela's. Captain Picard, we've been monitoring the situation since the spatial anomaly was detected. The appearance of Dr. Banner, the Romulan and Klingon incursions into Federation space, and the Borg engagement, this has escalated into a sector-wide crisis. Her gaze was steel. I'm hereby assuming tactical command. All vessels will stand down immediately, or we will interpret continued aggression as an act of war. The Romulan and Klingon ships began withdrawing, their tactical superiority dissolved by the arrival of overwhelming Starfleet forces. Commander Sela offered one final transmission. This isn't over, Captain. The Empire doesn't forget opportunities or threats. We'll be watching. Kern's face was more respectful. Tell the warrior that his actions today earned him honor in the Empire's eyes. If he ever chooses to leave Federation protection, the Klingons will remember what he did this day. Both vessel groups engaged warp drive, disappearing into the darkness between stars. Admiral Nechayev's expression softened fractionally as she looked at Banner, who was still being supported by Data. Dr. Banner, welcome to the 24th century. I suspect we have a great deal to discuss about your future, but first, get some rest. You've earned it. The transmission ended, and the bridge fell into exhausted silence. Banner looked at Picard, tears streaming down his face. What happens now? Picard placed a reassuring hand on the scientist's shoulder. Now, Dr. Banner, we figure out how to give you and the Hulk what you both asked for: a home. 3 days passed before Dr. Banner was strong enough to leave sickbay. During that time, the Enterprise became a hub of unprecedented activity. Starfleet medical ships arrived to assist with the liberated Borg drones, establishing temporary facilities aboard the drifting cube that the Hulk had neutralized. Annika Hansen, 7 of 9, as she insisted on being called despite reclaiming her human name, became an unexpected advocate for both the drones and for Banner himself. He understands what we're going through, she told Dr. Crusher during one of their many consultations. The trauma of having your body used against your will, the guilt of actions you couldn't control, the fear that you'll never truly be free. She gestured to her remaining Borg implants, which Crusher had determined were too integrated with her biology to safely remove. We're all learning to live as ourselves again. He deserves the same chance. But not everyone in Starfleet shared the compassionate view. Admiral Nechayev arrived on the Enterprise with a delegation from Starfleet Command, and her first meeting with Banner was held in the observation lounge under what could only be described as heavy security. Worf and a full security detachment stood at strategic positions, phasers set to heavy stun, though everyone present knew such weapons would be useless if the Hulk emerged. Banner sat across from the Admiral, looking small and vulnerable in borrowed civilian clothes. Picard sat beside him, a silent statement of support that hadn't gone unnoticed by Nechayev's sharp eyes. Dr. Banner, the Admiral began, her tone professional but not unkind. Your arrival in our universe has created complications. The Romulans have filed an official protest claiming we're harboring a weapon of mass destruction. The Klingon High Council has declared you an honorary warrior and demanded visitation rights. And Starfleet Science Division has submitted 17 different research proposals regarding your condition. Banner's hands trembled slightly. I didn't ask for any of this. I just want to go home. We're working on that, Nechayev assured him. Commander LaForge and Lieutenant Commander Data have been analyzing the spatial anomaly that brought you here, but Dr. Banner, we need to address the reality of your situation. The Hulk represents capabilities that could alter the balance of power in this quadrant. We need to understand what you are and what you're capable of before we can determine how to proceed. You want to study me, Banner said flatly. Just like everyone else. We want to help you, Nechayev corrected, though her eyes betrayed the strategic calculations running beneath that humanitarian claim. But we also have a responsibility to ensure galactic security. The Hulk destroyed a Borg cube single-handedly. Do you understand what that means? Entire fleets have fallen to the Borg, civilizations have been extinguished, and you one individual neutralized their most powerful asset. I didn't do it alone, Banner protested. The Hulk did. And I'm not. I can't control when he appears or what he does. That's the whole problem. Counselor Troy leaned forward, her voice gentle but probing. Dr. Banner, when the Hulk was fighting the Borg, were you aware of what was happening? Banner's expression twisted with remembered anguish. I'm always aware. Every time he emerges, I'm trapped inside, watching, feeling everything he feels, the rage, the power, He paused, searching for words. The clarity. When I'm Banner, everything is complicated. Moral ambiguities, consequences, fear. But when he's out, everything is simple. Threat or not threat, protect or destroy. It's terrifying and liberating at the same time. That's why you saved the drones. Picard said suddenly, understanding crystallizing. The Hulk recognized them as trapped individuals rather than enemies. Despite his rage, he made a moral choice. He made Banner's choice. Banner corrected quietly. I could feel him pulling from my knowledge, my values. For those few moments when he was liberating those people, we were. He struggled with the concept. We were working together. Not fighting for control, but cooperating toward a shared goal. Data's eyes brightened with fascination. A synthesis of consciousness. Dr. Banner's intellect and moral framework combined with the Hulk's emotional directness and physical capabilities. The theoretical implications are extraordinary. Admiral Nechayev pulled up a PADD, displaying what appeared to be classified documentation. Dr. Banner, there's something you should know. You're not the first enhanced individual Starfleet has encountered. We have protocols for integrating extraordinary capabilities into Federation society when those individuals choose to cooperate with us. And if I don't choose to cooperate? Banner asked, his voice hardening. What then? Do you lock me in a containment field? Study me like a lab specimen? Or do you just declare me too dangerous and neutralize the threat? The room fell silent. Nechayev's expression remained neutral, but Picard could see the calculation behind her eyes. She was weighing Federation ideals against strategic necessity. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Data's comm badge chirped urgently. Bridge to Captain Picard. We have a situation. Picard tapped his badge. Report. Captain, sensors are detecting an unauthorized transport into the brig. We have an intruder correction. Multiple intruders. They've penetrated our shields using technology we've never encountered before. Worf was already moving toward the door. Security teams, converge on. The observation lounge's lights flickered, and 3 figures materialized in the center of the room. They wore black tactical suits marked with an insignia that made Admiral Nechayev's face go pale. Section 31. The lead operative was a woman in her 50s, her eyes cold and calculating. Admiral. Captain. Dr. Banner. I'm Agent Sloan of Starfleet Intelligence's Special Operations Division. I'm here to take Dr. Banner into protective custody. The hell you are, Picard said, standing. You have no authority to. I have all the authority I need. Sloan interrupted, producing a pad with orders that made Nechayev's expression darken further. Section 31 operates with full executive clearance in matters of Federation security. Dr. Banner represents a clear and present danger to galactic stability. He will be remanded to our custody for assessment and potential neutralization. Banner stood slowly, his heart rate spiking visible on the medical monitors. Crusher had insisted he wear neutralization. You mean killing me? Or permanent containment? Sloan said with clinical detachment. Whichever proves more practical. The Hulk is too dangerous to remain free. The Romulans want to weaponize you. The Klingons want to recruit you. And the Borg will undoubtedly attempt assimilation again. The only logical solution is to remove you from the equation entirely. Picard positioned himself between Sloan and Banner. I don't recognize Section 31's authority, and neither should you, Admiral. This is extrajudicial kidnapping. This is pragmatic necessity. Sloan countered. Captain, you witnessed what the Hulk did to that Borg cube. Now imagine if the Romulans gained control of him. Or if the Dominion discovered his existence and sent founders to manipulate him. Or if he simply lost control in a populated area. She gestured to the view screen, where the drifting Borg cube was still visible. He's a weapon that could destroy civilizations. We can't let that happen. Banner's breathing was accelerating, his skin beginning to show the faintest tinge of green. Get away from me. All of you. Just. Get away. Troy's voice cut through the tension. Everyone stop. Dr. Banner is experiencing extreme stress. If we continue this confrontation, the Hulk will emerge, and people will die. Then let him emerge, Sloan said coldly. We're prepared for that eventuality. She made a gesture, and her operatives activated devices that filled the room with a strange energy field. Banner gasped, falling to his knees as the transformation began, then stopped. Frozen halfway between human and Hulk. His skin was mottled green and brown. His muscles swelling but not completing their change. He screamed in agony. What are you doing to him? Crusher shouted, her medical tricorder shrieking warnings. Gamma radiation dampening field. Sloan explained. It prevents the transformation from completing. Keeps him trapped between states, powerless but conscious. It was developed specifically for this scenario based on data we collected during his arrival. You're killing him. Crusher moved to help, but one of Sloan's operatives blocked her path. Picard's hand moved to his phaser. But Admiral Nechayev's voice stopped him. Stand down. Captain. That's an order. Admiral, you cannot possibly sanction. I don't sanction it, Nechayev said. Her voice tight with suppressed fury. But Section 31 operates outside my chain of command. They answer only to themselves, and they have the authority to override any command officer in matters of Federation security. She looked at Sloane with undisguised contempt. But this is still my ship. You want to take Dr. Banner, you'll need to transport him directly from here. I won't have you parading your prisoner through my corridors. Sloane nodded. Acceptable. Prepare for transport to. The dampening field exploded. Banner caught between human and Hulk roared with a sound that shouldn't have been possible from a partially transformed body. The gamma radiation that Sloane's device had been suppressing erupted like a dam breaking, flooding the observation lounge with green energy that overloaded every system. And the transformation completed with unprecedented violence. The Hulk that emerged was different. Larger than before. His muscles rippling with barely contained power. His eyes blazed not with simple rage but with something more complex fury combined with Banner's conscious awareness. When he spoke, his voice carried both the Hulk's thunder and Banner's intellect. You tried to trap us. Each word was deliberate, controlled. Tried to hurt Banner. Hurt Hulk. Make us weapon. Make us prisoner. His massive hand reached out with terrible precision, catching Agent Sloane by the throat and lifting her effortlessly. We are not your weapon. Don't kill her. Picard commanded. If you kill her, you prove Section 31 right. You prove you're too dangerous to exist freely. The Hulk's eyes found Picard, and for a moment, the struggle was visible on his face, the warring impulses of rage and reason. She tried to cage us. She will try again. Yes. Picard agreed. She probably will. But killing her makes you a murderer. It makes everything Section 31 believes about you true. Is that who you want to be? Is that who Banner wants to be? Banner want to be free, the Hulk said, his grip tightening fractionally around Sloane's throat. Hulk want Banner to be safe. This woman make neither thing possible. 7 of 9's voice came through the comm system she'd been monitoring from sickbay. Hulk. Dr. Banner. I spent 18 years as Borg. I wanted to kill every person who'd stood by and let the collective take me. Every parent who didn't protect me. Every Starfleet officer who couldn't save me. But killing them wouldn't have made me free. It would have made me what the Borg tried to turn me into, something that destroys without conscience. Her voice softened. Don't let her take your humanity. Don't let her make you the monster they fear. The Hulk stood frozen, caught between vengeance and virtue. Sloane dangled in his grasp. Her face purpling from lack of oxygen. Her eyes showing fear for perhaps the first time in her career. And in that moment, Dr. Bruce Banner made a choice that would define everything that followed. The Hulk's grip loosened. Agent Sloane dropped to the deck, gasping for air. Her tactical composure shattered. The Hulk stood over her, his massive chest heaving with controlled fury, gamma radiation pulsing through the observation lounge in waves that made the lights flicker and consoles spark. But he didn't kill her. Banner says no, the Hulk rumbled. His voice carrying a strange dual quality, as though two voices spoke in imperfect unison. Hulk says yes. But we say no. His eyes blazed as he looked down at the Section 31 operative. You live because Banner is stronger than you. Stronger than your fear. Stronger than your cages. He turned to Admiral Nechayev, and his expression shifted to something almost resembling respect. Admiral Woman tried to protect us. Sparkle Man made test, but Admiral Woman kept her word. Enterprise people kept their word. His gaze swept across Picard, Tra, Crusher, and the security team that hadn't fired despite having clear shots. You all kept word. So Hulk, we keep word too. The transformation reversed, but this time it was deliberate, controlled. The Hulk's massive form contracted smoothly, green fading to human tones, muscles compacting until Dr. Bruce Banner stood before them naked again, but somehow less vulnerable than before. When he spoke, his voice was steady. I understand now what you were all fighting over. The Romulans wanted to control the power. The Klingons wanted to celebrate it. The Federation wanted to study it. And Section 31 wanted to eliminate it. He looked at his hands, flexing fingers that had just held someone's life in their grip. But none of you asked what we wanted. Not me, not the Hulk. You were so busy deciding what to do about us that you never considered we might have our own opinion on the matter. Dr. Banner, Admiral Nechayev said carefully, helping Agent Sloane to her feet while simultaneously signaling security to escort the Section 31 operatives out. You're right, we made assumptions based on fear and strategic thinking. That was a mistake. She looked at Picard. Captain, I'm granting you operational authority over Dr. Banner's case. Work with him to find a solution not for Starfleet's benefit, but for his. Sloane, still rubbing her throat, managed a harsh laugh. "You're making a mistake, Admiral. Sentimentality doesn't protect the Federation. One day, that creature will lose control in a populated area, and thousands will die. And you'll wish you'd let me do what was necessary. Get her off my ship," Picard said coldly. "And inform Starfleet Command that Section 31's activities aboard the Enterprise are no longer welcome. If they want to discuss Dr. Banner's situation, they can do so through proper channels." As the operatives were escorted out, Sloane looked back at Banner one final time. "You think you've won. But you're still a weapon, Dr. Banner. And weapons always get used eventually." The doors closed behind her, leaving an uncomfortable silence. Data broke it with characteristic directness. "Dr. Banner, Commander LaForge and I have completed our analysis of the spatial anomaly that brought you here. We believe we can replicate the conditions necessary to return you to your original universe. However, the process would require significant energy expenditure and carry substantial risk." Banner sat heavily in a chair, accepting the robe that Crusher offered him. "Risk to me, or risk to the Enterprise?" "Risk. Both," LaForge admitted, appearing on the view screen from engineering. "The gamma radiation signature we'd need to generate would potentially destabilize your cellular structure and could trigger a transformation. If the Hulk emerged during the transport process, the quantum tunnel might collapse, trapping you in subspace permanently. Or worse," Data added. "The energy release could create a cascade effect that would damage the Enterprise's warp core. We estimate a 34.7% probability of catastrophic failure." "Then we're not doing it," Banner said immediately. "I won't risk your ship and crew just to get home." "That's not your decision to make alone," Picard said gently. "It's mine as captain. And I would authorize the attempt if you wanted to return home, risks and all. But Dr. Banner, I have to ask, what do you want? Not what Starfleet wants, not what's most convenient for us. What do you truly want?" Banner was quiet for a long moment, his eyes distant. "On my world, I'm hunted. The military wants to weaponize me, corporations want to exploit me, and the only people who don't fear me are the ones who want to use me." He looked around the observation lounge, at the faces watching him with genuine concern rather than calculation. "Here. At least some of you see me as a person first. Then stay," Troy said simply. "Not as a prisoner, not as an asset, as a member of our crew, if you want. Or we can arrange asylum on a Federation world where you and the Hulk can find peace." "You do that?" Banner's voice cracked. "After everything? After the damage? The political complications? The danger I represent? You saved the lives of 37 liberated Borg drones," Crusher pointed out. "You defeated a cube that would have assimilated everyone on this ship. You showed mercy to an enemy operative who tried to destroy you. Dr. Banner, those aren't the actions of a monster, they're the actions of a hero struggling with an impossible burden." 7 of 9 entered the observation lounge, her remaining Borg implants visible but no longer defining her. "Captain, permission to speak?" "Granted." She looked directly at Banner. "I've been thinking about what you said in sickbay. About how you and the Hulk are learning to coexist. I believe I can help." She gestured to her cranial implants. "These aren't just Borg technology, they're neural processors that helped me maintain individual thought within the collective. Dr. Crusher and I have been experimenting with modifying them to enhance rather than suppress consciousness. What if we could create something similar for you? Not to control the Hulk, but to facilitate communication between your two selves?" Data's eyes brightened. "Fascinating. A neural interface that would allow Dr. Banner and the Hulk to maintain conscious dialogue regardless of which persona is dominant. It would not eliminate the transformation, but it would provide the cooperation you experienced during the Borg engagement on a permanent basis. It's experimental," Crusher warned. "And it would require your consent for what amounts to voluntary cybernetic augmentation. But if it worked, you might finally achieve the balance you've been searching for." Banner looked at 7. At her Borg implants that she'd transformed from symbols of slavery into tools of liberation. "You do this for me? Help me become part machine? You helped me reclaim my humanity," 7 said simply. "Let me help you reclaim yours and the Hulk's. Because Dr. Banner, the Hulk isn't your enemy, he's part of you, trying to protect you in the only way he knows how. Maybe it's time you both stopped fighting and started listening." Picard watched Banner process the offer, saw the hope and fear warring in his expression. "Dr. Banner, whatever you decide, you have the Enterprise's full support, but I want you to understand something: if you choose to stay in this universe, there will be challenges. The Romulans won't forget you. The Klingons will continue to see you as a potential ally. Section 31 will always view you as a threat. Living here won't be easy." "Was it ever easy?" Banner asked with a bitter laugh. At least here, I've got people willing to help instead of hunt. He took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Okay. I want to try Seven's neural interface. And I want to stay if you'll have me. Welcome to the Federation, Dr. Banner, Admiral Nechayev said, extending her hand. I'll process your asylum request personally. But understand that this comes with expectations. If you're going to live among us, you'll need to find a way to contribute to society beyond crisis intervention. I'm a scientist, Banner said, shaking her hand. Give me a lab and let me do research. That's all I've ever wanted, to use my mind to help people, instead of having my body used to hurt them. Over the following weeks, a transformation occurred that had nothing to do with gamma radiation. 7 of 9 and Dr. Crusher worked tirelessly to develop the neural interface, with Banner himself contributing his expertise in biophysics and radiation dynamics. Commander LaForge designed the hardware, while Data programmed the software that would bridge two consciousnesses without suppressing either. The procedure took 6 hours. When Banner woke in sickbay, a small silver device was visible at his temple, connected to his nervous system at the quantum level. How do you feel? Crusher asked. Her medical tricorder active. Banner closed his eyes, concentrating. I can hear him. For the first time since this began, I can actually communicate with the Hulk. He's scared. All this time I thought he was just mindless rage, but he's been terrified too. Terrified that I'd find a way to eliminate him. Terrified that he'd fail to protect me. Terrified of being alone. His voice broke. We've been fighting each other when we should have been fighting together. Then stop fighting, Troy suggested gently. Start cooperating. Over the next months, Banner became an invaluable member of the Enterprise crew. He worked in the science labs, collaborating with Data on quantum physics and helping LaForge solve engineering problems that had stumped the team for years. The Hulk emerged occasionally, always controlled now. Always purposeful. When the Enterprise encountered a spatial anomaly threatening a colony, the Hulk physically held a collapsing support beam while evacuations completed. When Romulan agents attempted another infiltration, the Hulk's mere presence convinced them to retreat. But the most significant moment came 6 months after Banner's arrival, during a routine diplomatic mission to a Klingon border world. Commander Kern was there, representing the Empire in negotiations. When he saw Banner, his face lit up with genuine pleasure. Dr. Banner, I heard you remained with the Federation. A waste of warrior potential. But I respect your choice. Banner smiled. Actually, Commander, I was hoping to speak with you about that. The Hulk wanted me to tell you something. Kern raised an eyebrow. The Hulk? He speaks through you now? We speak together now, Banner corrected. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they held a green tint, not a full transformation, but a blending. When he spoke, his voice carried both Banner's intellect and the Hulk's power. You offered us honor through combat. We understand now what you meant. Honor isn't about fighting, it's about standing for something worth protecting. We thank you for recognizing that in us, even when we couldn't recognize it in ourselves. Kern's expression showed rare emotion, respect bordering on awe. You have achieved what few warriors ever do. Balance between rage and reason, strength and wisdom. Perhaps you belong with the Federation after all. They need people like you to remind them that sometimes, compassion requires courage. That evening, in the Enterprise's 10 forward lounge, Banner sat with Picard over synthaholic brandy. Through the viewport, stars streaked by in the familiar patterns of warp travel. Do you regret staying? Picard asked. Banner considered the question seriously. I miss my world sometimes. But there, I was always running from the military. From myself. From the consequences of my condition. Here. He gestured to the lounge, where 7 of 9 was teaching Data about human social interaction. Where Geordi and Worf were debating engineering versus tactics. Where Troy was listening patiently to a young ensign's problems. Here, I'm not running anymore. The Hulk and I were not cured. We're not fixed. But we're whole in a way we never were before. That's all any of us can ask for, Picard said, raising his glass. To finding home, wherever the universe places us. To home, Banner echoed. And somewhere in his mind, the Hulk rumbled his agreement. Outside the Enterprise, the galaxy continued its eternal dance, civilizations rising and falling, conflicts erupting and resolving, the endless cycle of chaos and order. The Romulans still schemed, the Klingons still fought, the Borg still assimilated. But aboard one Federation starship, a man and a monster had learned to become something neither could achieve alone, complete. And in a universe governed by logic and science, that transformation was the most extraordinary miracle of all. Dr. Bruce Banner's journey through the Star Trek universe became something of legend in Starfleet records, though the full details remained classified to prevent exploitation by hostile powers. His neural interface with the Hulk revolutionized Federation understanding of consciousness duality and led to breakthroughs in treating psychological conditions across dozens of species. Seven of Nine and Banner formed a lasting friendship, two individuals who'd been prisoners in their own bodies, now helping others find similar freedom. Together, they established a counseling program for beings struggling with consciousness fragmentation, identity crises, and involuntary transformations. The Romulans made 3 more attempts to capture Banner over the following years. Each time, the combination of Banner's intellect and the Hulk's power proved too formidable. Eventually, even the Tal Shiar concluded that the risk outweighed the potential reward, especially after the Hulk personally delivered a disabled Romulan warbird to Starfleet Command with a message: "Leave Banner alone." The Klingon Empire honored Banner with a ceremonial bat leth, recognizing his defeat of the Borg Cube as one of the great warrior achievements of the era. Banner kept it in his quarters, a reminder that strength comes in many forms. As for Section 31, they continued to monitor Banner, waiting for the inevitable failure, the catastrophic loss of control that would justify their original assessment. It never came. The neural interface, combined with Banner's acceptance of the Hulk as partner rather than affliction, created a stability that no amount of suppression or separation could have achieved. Years later, when a young officer asked Captain Picard what he'd learned from the incident, he replied simply, that the universe's greatest power isn't strength or intelligence or technology, it's the courage to accept every part of yourself, even the parts you fear. Dr. Banner and the Hulk taught us that. They taught us that monsters are made not by transformation, but by how we treat those who are different from ourselves. In the end, Bruce Banner found what he'd always sought: not a cure, not elimination of the Hulk, but something far more precious: acceptance. A home where both the scientist and the warrior could exist, valued for their unique strengths, freed from the need to fight for dominance. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination, but for one man who contained 2 souls, the greatest discovery wasn't out among the stars, it was within himself. And somewhere in the quantum spaces between thoughts, Banner and the Hulk finally stopped screaming. They started listening instead.